I would say make sure that roles are defined
All right.
and on paper for what people are responsible for and what their job roles entail. Standards of procedures as far as, hey, like if we're going to go hire someone, I have a list of questions that I go by every single time. That way, when you want to come by our company in a couple of years because you see that we run on 14% efficiency, you can make some bank off of that.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawIncustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, and today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Stephen Lange of Lange's Painting. So, Stephen, how is it going today?
Good. Thank you for having me on. Busy day so far. We started in Stoughton and then made it to Verona for a chamber thing, and now I've been graced with your presence.
Nice. I think I've been graced with yours, man. So you've been hustling, working on the business.
Yeah.
Or is it on the business, not in the business?
Yes.
All
That's
right.
the goal.
Kissing babies, shaking hands, all that jazz?
No babies.
No babies.
I have one, but no babies today. No.
Right on.
Yeah.
Let's just start from the bottom chronologically here.
Okay.
When did you decide to start Lange's Painting?
Really good. Small history about us is we've always kind of been around it. My brother and I own it 50-50.
Okay.
Born and raised in the Madison area. We have 11 W-2 employees that we love and care for every day. But yeah, we've kind of always been around paint. It's a very interesting way. Before we started Lange's Painting in 2020, we started right during a pandemic, which was smart.
Yeah, perfect time. Yeah, great.
Exactly. Let's go to your house,
We talking January 2020 or are we talking April 2020? October 2020.
So
you're like, the world is really ending. We should probably start a business.
Well, you had your meat and potatoes, and so now we're the ice cream at the end of the year. It's like, okay, let's start this now. And so
Nice.
Bernie actually started in October, and then I left my role with Sherwin-Williams as a sales representative for them April of 21. So I guess I wasn't a part of the initial start.
Yeah.
But, when he left the company he was working for, he just said, hey, I'm going to start Lange's Painting. Are you interested in? And so, being that Sherwin treated me really well, I wanted to make sure I exited correctly with them. So, yeah, we've always been around paint. I worked for Noise Painting on the east side off Highway 51 as a kid. In high school, Bernie painted for Chameleon. I don't know if they're still around or not, but we've always been around it. So it's just kind of funny. My stepfather, he owned a company in Milwaukee, and Bernie worked for him prior to starting Lange's, and I was with Sherwin-Williams for 5 years before leaving them to start it here.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what made you and your brother decide, instead of just sticking around at your own gig, or as an employee, to go off on your own?
Well, great question. It was kind of the turning point. I was offered a role I wasn't happy about. He was offered a role that he wasn't quite ready to take on, or for his own reasons. I'm not sure, but we just kind of hit that fork at the right time, and so we've always been very driven. We've had jobs since we were 13. We used to work at Camp Randall. We used to work all the home Badger games, selling peanuts and stuff. So,
all right.
We've always been business driven. He went to school for it, and so did I, and so. Sherwin will always be there. There'll always be people hiring good people. So why not shoot our shot? And we're 5 years down the road. Well, we're starting our 5th year, but 5 years down the road, I couldn't be happier.
Nice. Very cool. So your brother comes to you and he's like, hey man, let's start a business. And you're like, totally, sounds great. I'm going to leave my gig at Sherwin. And you guys get together. Family dynamic.
Yeah.
It has to be good in order for you guys to go in business together.
He's a year and a half older. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I believe in him 100% and everything that he's done so far in his life. And so when he said he's starting a business, and I didn't have any hesitation on, it's not how successful we are going to be, or if we are going to be successful, is how successful. And so feeling that way right out of the gate really helped us launch. But I mean, it was him and I when we started. No employees, and no standards and procedures or workers' comp or any insurances or anything and stuff like that we carry now. So it's our pre-finishing shop. It's just all slowly came about.
You graduate as you grow, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. We did really well for a while, and we kind of hit a plateau in our fourth year, end of our third, into our fourth, and we're like, hey, like why aren't we getting bigger? We doubled in size, and kind of hit a ceiling, and so we pulled the books back out and kind of looked around a little bit, and we hired a business coach.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. And that's been successful, I imagine?
Yeah, we grew. Oh man, I would say. Yeah, we grew almost $400,000 in a year.
Okay. And is that attributable to
Yes, 100%.
the advice that you got from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We knew what was wrong, but we couldn't figure out how to fix it or
Okay.
how to grow it more.
Okay. Do you have an example?
Yeah, I mean, like you just said earlier, working on the business instead of working on it instead of in it. We could never get out of the field. I talked to a guy earlier today at the chamber thing, and he's like, "Man, I feel like a failure because I've just been in my business." And so she has helped us design. I wear the HR hat. Bernie wears a lot of the AP/AR hats, and so we've kind of figured out an org chart, and slowly, once we understood what our defined roles were, we were able to stay in our own lanes. Because what happened is I
gotcha.
was jumping in his pond, he was fishing out of mine, and so eventually we just kind of were like, hey, we're just stuck. You couldn't move because I was so far intertwined with him, and vice versa, that we couldn't get out of our own way.
All
So
right.
she helped as a I would say, go back to the tripod. We bounce ideas off of her. If him and I have friction, we have someone that can, move that energy around efficiently for us.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell me about first employee.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't mean to hit a nut there.
Well,
but
no. It was, this is one thing that she has taught us is, I have a procedure now that I go through so that way I don't skip some really important questions that, to be honest with you, even this year I've hit, in 24, I've hit my head on a couple of those. Hey, got to go by the process. Otherwise you're going to miss these questions that are imperative to our success and also the employee success. Because we don't like bringing people on to not set them up for the most success to either grow with us, or grow as a person themselves. So,
questions like, can you climb a ladder, or what are we talking about?
valid driver's license.
All right.
I
fair.
mean, you drive a car. That doesn't mean you're allowed to drive that car. So there's
Your insurance may not like them driving your car.
yeah, they do not touch the fleet vehicles, but it's just little things like that. Reliable transportation, which sometimes when you're seeing a candidate that brings out kind of the values and the culture that we bring, it's nice to see all that. It's like, oh, I don't have a license. It's like, why not? It's just like you're so close.
So
Like
close.
this is almost a perfect thing for us. But it so first employee, back to that. He started with us. He had just moved from several states away, and he had lots of Venetian plaster, a lot of the more, I would say, artistic styles of painting. He was really good at mudding and kind of taking care of some of the repair stuff. Painting, he did a great job, but his means of why he was here wasn't honest.
Okay.
So he ended up leaving us maybe 3 or 4 months down the road
After you hired him.
after we hired him.
All right.
And he claimed some sort of illness that was unfortunate that he had it, and we were supporting him for about 2 months, like while he was going through these things, and then eventually found out he moved like 2 more states away and became a truck driver. So
When you say supporting him, do you mean paying him?
yeah,
Or just cheering him on?
Well, kind of both.
Get well soon.
Kind of both. I mean, he was handling some medical bills, which to this day I don't know if is true or not.
All
but
right.
recovering addict, and so I don't know what those missed days here. Were they actually going to the hospital, or were they the bottle flu, or whatever his addiction was? But it just seemed like I put a lot of trust in people. I like to trust them first. I give you until you give me a reason not to. That's kind of how we like to operate.
It's so I'm laughing here because I had an employee, I don't know, a year or 2 ago, and she's like, James, you have trust issues. And I'm like, if you had gone through all the stuff that just about every employer has to go through with employers,
Yeah.
you would have trust issues. And if you don't, you're not paying attention.
I learned a valuable lesson once from a gentleman that has, I think, probably 80 or 100 employees. He said, listen to how they talk about their previous employer, because you're no different.
Oh.
If they're bad-mouthing them, if they say bad things about them and how they were treated and everything like that, if they were to leave or come on board with you, even if it was a great, harmonious, relationship, and then when they leave or if they're ever let go, they're going to do the same thing to you. So it was true. I found it over and over again. So during that interview process, we always try and bring up how the last exit went, and kind of try and push some points there to see if anything can arise.
Just poke around, see if you can find
just
something.
in the dark, just fishing around.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I get it. It's interesting because you can't ask them straight up, because then they'll deny.
Well, it's against the law in certain
Well, I guess
spots, too.
just say like, hey, did you ever get fired or whatever, things like that, certain things that you have to tiptoe around.
Yes.
One, to keep it legal, but two, because if you ask it straightforward, they're not going to give you an answer. They're going to think in their head, what does this guy want to hear? What is the perfect answer to get me hired? Not what is the most honest answer.
Right.
So I get that, totally get that as a challenge.
Yeah, and as a younger business owner, we come across, more relaxed. That does not, we don't yell, scream, make fun of. We don't do any of that stuff at our company ever. It's
No
just
bucket throwing or anything?
No, there's no abuse at any point tolerated, and so that relaxation is, it can come off as I can kind of run them over, or I can do what I want until. We kind of pair them with people right when they come on board to kind of, sniff them out and see how they're doing. But, we hold pretty strong policies. If I'm there 15 minutes early, why can't you be there 15 minutes early? So,
Right on.
yeah.
So tell me, this is the first employee, bails in a little bit of a shady way. Was that something that you're just like, what do we do now? Or that was unexpected? Or tell me what your reaction was.
So by the time he had been gone, by the time he left, we had to hire 3 more people.
Wow.
So,
Just because work kept coming in.
we had a good problem. We had more coming in than we had going out, and so with that, we just kind of, it was a lot of word of mouth. Hey, my friend paints. He doesn't like it here, or vice versa, and so we kind of started going that way until we found our sweet spot on where we hire most of our employees now. One is word of mouth still. I mean, if someone says, hey, I worked with him here, or your resume speaks for itself typically, but when people say they can paint, that a lot of times it doesn't go to the standards that we keep.
Sure, that's a very vague statement, right?
Are we talking
paint.
Monet, or are we talking,
right.
Picasso?
I just take the bucket off, spill it, and boom, the floor is painted.
I can pour
right?
it anywhere I want.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me about the employees, how you find them, and how you figure out that you're going to hire them. What are you looking for in an employee?
We are looking for someone that is on time and early, and we are in constant communication. So we don't have an office. We have a shop, but we don't have an office. So I deal with them directly as owners, as does Bernie. And so when there are questions or needs or wants, they're getting the direct response. They don't have to call somewhere, wait for that call to come back, not talk to the right person. There's no moving around parts. You get to the top, you get answers, and it goes right back down. And so, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, finding, what are you looking for in an employee? Yeah.
What we're looking for in an employee is someone that is prompt, that knows how to wear a belt around their waist. I'm not looking for yes sir, no ma'am, any of that stuff, but we're looking for some people that are front facing. As someone that comes into your house, normally you want them with the right attire on, that that shows, hey, I work for this company, I'll be entering your dwelling now, not, hey, I'm here to paint, that kind of thing. We're looking for just straight up gentlemen that are ready to come to work.
Fair?
Yeah.
Fair. I can remember we had insulation done in a house a long time ago. It was just insulation settled or whatever, so we had hired this company to add blow-in insulation. And I was working from home at the time. This is before work from home was cool. It was just the home office was cheaper than having an office. Yeah. So these guys come to the door, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Here's the way to get in the attic. I got to go back to work. You guys do your thing. And a few hours later, I come out of the office thinking, I wonder how they're doing. And they're gone, which is fine. Whatever, you did your job. But I was like, they didn't say goodbye. There's no communication. And there's trails of the little insulation thing everywhere. Yeah. So I'm like, you left a mess. You didn't say goodbye. I'm assuming
they could still be up there.
Could still be up there. Yeah, it was just one of those things where I'm like, how hard would it have been just to knock on my door and say, hey, man, peace out. Or, hey, we need to get paid. Or, hey, we'll send you a bill. Or what are the next steps? I didn't know. So I had to call the place and say, hey, how do I pay you?
It's a weird concept.
It was just a weird thing. And this is a company that had been around for decades. So I'm like, this is just what you do? It was interesting how the salesperson you talk to on the phone, they're cool. but the people that actually did the work, next to no communication skill.
We stress that.
All right.
We stress that. It's you walk in, you greet them. If I'm there to start the jobs or the projects, or one of our foremen are, there's names to the people working, whether that's a superintendent, a project manager on a commercial site, or the homeowner themselves. Pretty much everyone likes dogs, so it makes it easy that way. But we are, I would say, more personable than not, to where, communication at the end of the day, hey, we're going to be back at 7:30 a.m. Is it okay if we put everything in this corner until tomorrow?
Yeah.
Hey, can we commandeer the garage while we're here? All that communication gets planned out either prior to or during the process. I mean, they're people too, right? They're paying for a service. Let's give them the best that we know that we can, and move on.
Fair. You raise an interesting point, because I guess for this particular one, the installation, it was just lowest bidder, and I got
The lowest bidder.
I got lowest bidder, man.
You pay for.
Service, quality, and price. I got price, I guess.
Yeah.
Usually you get to pick two, but I don't think I got the other ones.
It's seeming these days you have to pick one. Mm-hmm. So the other two kind of to leave the window. We like to hold on to a firm too.
Yeah. Fair. Mm-hmm. Tell me, as far as bringing new clients on, I mean, you start in the pandemic, it's just you and your brother. How did people find you? What did you do for marketing?
Good question. So we've barely spent any money even into our fifth year into advertising. We grew up here. People knew that we were back.
Okay.
My father ran a construction company on the west side. So as far as those connections went, it took us a while to crack into the commercial site, because you need a lot of different equipment. You need a little bit of capital to start kind of running some of those different insurances and stuff like that. So it was residential. I mean, we hopped place to place. There's a couple properties that I called on a lot of different places, let them know who we were, what we were about, kind of what our backgrounds were. And
Commercial properties?
well, I would say student housing,
Gotcha. Okay.
rentals, property management companies.
Stuff where they're going to be routine.
Yeah, routine, something that's planned. That way you can kind of start to forecast. Say we have these 150 units in 3 months. That will get us to this part to be able to plan for the next one. So the behind the scenes stuff, is paramount when you're trying to gain more customers. And a lot of people knew, like, hey, the Lange boys are back. Like, they're painting now. So then one of them will call us and, hey, my uncle needs it, my aunt needs it, my next door neighbor said they need a painter. And so we started becoming top of mind of people. And so it just kind of shows the community that, Madison and the surrounding areas are really starting to develop into. If someone's going to vouch for you these days, they mean it, because I feel like people whisper, gratitude and yell hate. So I think that, when we get all these, 5-star reviews on Google and stuff like that, it's just really encouraging, or, really, I would say, uplifting to see that, we care. We're here. We're hometown people. We care. We want our communities to succeed and look as best as they can.
Yeah, fair. No, Madison's a small town. I mean, it's a decent-sized town, but when it comes to people talking and stuff like that, totally small.
It's a big high school.
Very.
That's
it's got its clicks.
Oh, it does it ever. Yeah.
That is for sure. From a sales point of view, are you the sales guy? Is that your lane with you and your brother, or both of you doing sales?
So there's a commercial bidding side, which is normally off of plans and stuff like that. He did that for his previous company.
Okay.
So he tackles a lot more of the commercial stuff, and I handle the residential stuff. When I was with Sherwin-Williams, I was in the residential repaint division of theirs. So when it comes to talking to homeowners, knowing about higher quality products, what's the process? So the accounts that I had with them, I kind of taught those people how to run their own business and help them succeed. That way I knew they'd buy the paint from me. So as far as sales go, I love it. There's nothing better than, closing sales and, providing for, not only ourselves, but our families and also our employees' families. Like, knowing that they're getting a check every week and they don't have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. They know it's there. It's always on time. They can start kind of letting that piece of their life go and move on to the fun things that they want to do.
Yeah. I want to talk about product, the paint itself, because I didn't know that there was a difference between a bucket of paint and a different bucket of paint. So when I went to paint some offices that I had, I just went to Menards and I was like, I just need white. And this one's white and that one's white, so I'm just going to get the cheap one. And I learned that it takes about 50 coats to do that cheap one.
Yes.
So, but I didn't know. I started digging in online to learn, like, what are the ingredients of paint? Because there's a huge difference.
Yes.
So can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I am the paint nerd.
All right.
I worked for Sherwin for too long, and so I read a lot of data pages. I worked in the Tucson market, so a lot of heat, a lot of dry, all the way up back here into the Racine and Milwaukee area. So learning about the way different things cure and stuff like that, it does come down to a very specific chemical, which is titanium dioxide.
Okay.
That's kind of the muscle of the paint. So the higher percentage of that, the better it'll cover, the better, there's a lot of things. There's 4 components that go into a paint product, but titanium dioxide is the number one thing that homeowners should look at when purchasing it, or when they're asking, their future contractor, hey, like, I understand that how much titanium dioxide has in it.
They give it as a percentage, or
Yeah, so typically in a 10,000 gallon batch of paint, there is, they kind of do a plus or minus 2. So if it's 38%, plus or minus 2%, because in a 10,000 gallon batch, your variance could
the
be.
guy's got the measuring cup and he's like, close enough.
They take samples of every single one and they have them labeled and logged. So it's very cool that's on the Sherwin side of things. I learned from, I would say, the best
Okay.
in the business, the biggest company globally.
Yeah.
So I do know too much. So when Bernie has a question, he's like, hey, we're going to do this to this and we're going to paint this, that. And he goes, how do we get there? And I was like, well, this, then that, and then we have to sand it, and then we can get there from this. And so I kind of break everything down on that side.
So is the idea that the cheaper paint has less titanium dioxide, broadly speaking?
I would say that's 85% accurate.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the fancier stuff has
Yeah.
more?
Yes.
Okay.
So
is there
there's
any other difference? I mean,
it goes. You'd have to talk to someone that's on, someone that does like nuclear power plants, potable water. Those start to change, or industrial, as far as like bridges, stuff like that, salt water.
Okay, sure.
Like those products have a little bit of a different makeup. But as far as like Midwest paint goes, exterior, interior, epoxies are a little different. But as far as that goes, titanium dioxide is king.
All right. So I was looking at, we're talking a price difference of probably, for cheap end to low end, probably the high end stuff, more expensive, I guess, was probably 3 times the cost.
Yeah.
It was substantial.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want white paint. And then forget about the whole eggshell gloss, semi-gloss, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. I'm just like, all I want is white paint. How are there possibly this many options?
Yeah.
It's insane. So if I'm a homeowner, or I got some commercial property, apartments or whatever,
Yeah.
and I want them painted, but I don't want to spend millions of dollars, and you're like, hey, what kind of paint do you want to use? Or do you just tell them what kind of paint?
I look at what we're doing, and we only use top 2 tiers.
Okay.
So there's a top tier, and we don't charge. All the savings that we have from our purchasing power, we pass on to our customers. We don't mark up our paint. We don't mark up anything.
Okay.
We pay for what we use on your house because you're paying us to use that on your house. I don't mark it up to what. If we did the MSRP, we'd be rolling in dough, essentially. But
Or no one would pay. One of the two.
yeah, or no, yeah, it's like, that's twice as much as we said, or 3 times the amount. And so,
How many tiers are there? If you're using top 2, are we talking 5, 10?
sure, 5.
Okay.
I'd say on average probably 5 to 8,
Wow.
depending upon how commercial grade versus the highest end of residential. You range on the shelf from $25 to $104 a gallon.
And tell me, from your point of view, because I guess I can see as a guy that's painted a few rooms, not hundreds, more
Yeah.
like 5. I can tell, or I could tell after I bought the cheap stuff, I'm like, oh, that other stuff is 3 times the cost because we had to use this one 3 times to get what that probably could 1 time. So I can see that being like, okay, 1, but now we're talking 5 to 8 different tiers. What is the difference?
That's a good question. Some have, I would say, moldicides in them. So like if we're going to a bathroom or a kitchen or something that we want a little more scrubbability, especially and I'll just stick with the bathroom, but those little black dots you get on the ceiling, some of this paint coating is smart enough to eat that.
Eat? Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it hides it. It consumes it, if you will. So,
okay. And is that an indefinite thing, or is that after?
You're not quoting me on that.
All right.
I'm going to leave that there. We warranty our work for 2 years. If it happens to happen within 7 years, I'd be surprised.
Okay.
Typically, products have 15-year limited lifetime, but I don't know what limited lifetime stands for. I'm not a lawyer, but
No, 15
it's,
years seems like a while though for paint.
Yeah,
I would think that.
it doesn't include fade. It's just the actual structural integrity of the paint.
Okay, it didn't flake off or something like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It is structurally sound. Fading, you can't warranty fade.
Gotcha.
The sun, like I said, it was in Tucson. The sun there is different than it is here.
I bet it's a little bit more intense.
Don't do any reds down there.
All right.
They fade into that nice pinky you got
You
on.
can just see where the window or where the sun moved across the window
Yeah.
to see there.
Yep.
The rectangle or whatever trapezoid
Exactly. I
thing.
think here what we have is when you move a rug, and then
Yeah.
you have that nice spot there, similar to the sun fade there.
Interesting. Yeah, I get into cars, and old cars in Arizona are great because they're rust free, but the interior, you touch them wrong and it's just poof.
Yep.
Just
dust.
Dust.
Yep.
Yeah, crazy intense. So tell me, when you have your employees and they say, I can totally paint, but I imagine they have their way, whatever they did before, and then you have your way, whatever you want to do is systematized and all that stuff. How do you train your employees to do the job the way you want it done?
Great question. So we developed a training module that has videos along with them. So when I hire someone on and they're ready to go full time, what I have them do is, once we get all the social security cards and all that stuff out of the way, what we do is they watch 38 videos. It's about 3 hours worth. And then there's a quiz afterwards that I've made, and I put all the videos together so that when those are done, and they, I'm looking for a 28 out of 30, 29 out of 30. They're not complicated questions. Some of the latter ones I would say are very specific because those are for safety and insurance and their health, right? But once they complete those, we pay them for the 3 hours to watch the videos. The test probably takes 5 minutes, so a long lunch break, which
Right.
happens more often than not. But they complete that quiz, we pay them for it, and that way they understand our standards moving forward. A lot of people that I would say have come to work for us have had their own companies. Hey, man, I've always done it this way, is what they say. And well, our way is still working. It seems like yours kind of dried up. So we're going to stick with our processes. Yeah, exactly.
You're looking for a job, we have a business.
I don't say it that rude.
Sure.
It's just like, hey, like this system works. Can we
Right.
please use it? And it's, if there's something that needs to be talked about behind the door, then we can hash that out then. But when you're on site, we have a process that's flawless. It's working really well, and guys understand why. We don't just say, hey, we do it this way. The reason why is X, Y, Z, because then you can do PQR later. Oh, so that's why yes, exactly. Now we're moving more efficiently. Everything's going quicker, and we're in and out of homes quicker. And we have, when we have buildings like yours is under construction now, your return to service is faster. That's what we want. We want those businesses to be back open. We want people's homes to not be blue taped everywhere and tarps everywhere, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about the commercial side, because you mentioned commercial equipment. Are we talking sprayers, or what are we talking about there?
Sprayers, different ladders, rental equipment.
Okay.
So we rent from a couple different companies around town, as far as jib booms, stuff like that, stick lifts, and
Oh,
stuff
so you're
like
getting
that.
way up high.
Yeah, I don't want, I always tell them I wouldn't want you to do anything that I wouldn't do. So
Okay.
I'm not asking you to get on a roof that's pitched, that's steep, that's scary, that without a harness, and anything that's OSHA binding. So if I wouldn't do it, I'm not asking our guys to do it. Even if they're like, oh, I'll do it. It's like, no. If I'm not going to do it, we're going to get a boom down there. We're going to, put plywood down underneath so it doesn't cave in the person's lawn or damage anything flowers wise. And so that's kind of the commercial equipment side. We don't own any of ourselves, but the insurances and certifications for those things are important.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And as far as your guys go, do you have commercial guys and residential guys, or is they
We're all
just
A
depends
team.
on the job?
We're all A team.
Okay.
Someone's like, hey, you sending your B crew, your C crew? It's like, we only have an A crew. I'm serious. Our team has never been stronger, more educated, more dedicated to
Okay.
The success of this company because they've seen how it's grown even, since March of this year. There's a lot of promise for the future and promotions, and it's just going to get bigger and better. So
Tell me about employee turnover.
very funny. We only have 2 employees from last year still with us.
Okay.
Well, actually, anyway. So one's been with us since 2023. He's
Okay.
our oldest tenure employee.
All right.
So turnover, unfortunately, has been them terminating themselves. whether that's time theft or just absenteeism or not showing up quality performance. We don't ask a lot. We ask you to come to work hard, keep politics off the job site, keep the music down, and enjoy the rest of your day. So
Tell me about the you said time stealing. What did you?
time theft.
Time theft. Tell me more about that.
Well, let's say I was here for a half an hour and I was here for 4 hours.
All right.
You stole 3.5 hours.
Right.
which-
So they're writing on their time card.
Right,
or
which
whatever.
we found a systematic way to not let them fire themselves anymore that way.
Right, okay.
We have a geofence around job sites now, so they go in, they punch it in an app, it recognizes they're in the geofence, and then if they were to leave, it clocks them out. If they go back in, it clocks them in.
All right.
And by law in Wisconsin, you have to allow a 30-minute break on site for lunch and a 15-minute in the morning and a 15 in the afternoon. So-
Yeah, as long as it's a over 6 hour shift, right, for the half hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we require 40 minimums.
All right. It's so interesting how, I guess, us with our employees that are remote,
Yeah.
we've had to get software. It's Big Brother software. But essentially, you're with the same thing with the geo-tracking thing, where it's just like, we shouldn't have to do this, right? Can't people just be honest?
They're grown men.
But, yeah.
But
Sometimes they act like
Yeah.
8th graders.
well, it's everyone's smarter than everyone else.
Yeah, just ask them, right?
Yep.
That's so true.
I'll never get caught. They never knew.
All right.
That kind of. We were all there once. Come on.
I don't know that
You
I
were
was,
always smarter than your parents until you realized you weren't.
well, I guess in that regard, I might still think that I am, but there's still that little 17-year-old in the back of your head.
Yeah.
But I guess stealing 3.5 hours from a company, that seems a little rich.
I mean that might be an extreme example, but,
But still.
if you go to I put the example together the other day where if you do 5 minutes a day, you multiply that out. That's I think it was like 21 hours
Yeah.
throughout the course of the year.
I totally have employees.
You
doing
blow it up on a yearly
Totally.
scale. It's like, well, then why don't I take 20 hours off your next check? You can have lunch on your own time.
that. Yeah.
So we're so easy to work with. I say that they work with us, not for us, because that's how I really feel.
Yeah.
I don't think that, oh, hey, boss. It's like, I don't like that. I
That's
really
so
don't.
funny you say
I
that
don't.
because I hate it when. So I have my crew and they're like, "You bet, boss man." And why is it like nails on a chalkboard?
It's terrible.
It shouldn't be though.
That's why every month we take them out bowling or we go axe throwing. We take them out sometimes with their families too, and we also have trainings at the shop. We have our monthly employee appreciation, and so I know more about their families than probably any other employer has. We've shared things that hey, like I'm struggling with this. We're there for them because we want the best out of them while they're on the job site. Why can't we care for them off of it too?
Has that been good for retention?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, another thing Action Coach put together. She's like, how are you rewarding them? We work long hours and sometimes it's a little monotonous and whatever, but how are you rewarding them for this good performance? And I was like, well, what do you suggest? And she just said, you need to do this monthly.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Monthly appreciations.
Yeah. My old business, I had that printer repair thing. I would take my techs out for lunch every Friday. We'd usually end up at some bar that was near a job or something like that and just grab lunch and chat. And the rule was we couldn't talk about printers.
Can't talk about work, yeah.
Can't talk about work. We usually, and I would do everything I could to avoid the topic. But sometimes they would just be like, what about this jam? And I was like,
Yeah.
no.
Bad you.
Yeah, but whatever. You
No,
have a
it's-
bar burger, you move on with your life.
It's the employee appreciations are nice just because you learn, you can kind of see who's doing well and who isn't. If everyone's engaged and some people are, hey, I'm late, and they leave early, you can just kind of tell that you get a good feel. Right. And, we have I would say, we have our employees that report back to us directly on, hey, like this, and this happened this week. Just keep your eye on it. Or, hey, it seems like he's kind of down. Take him out to lunch this week.
Right
You
on.
know, we are in the field, enough to realize most of it, but you can't see everything. And so, like I said earlier, if that one employee that badmouthed their previous employer is now badmouthing you,
Right.
we hear it. We hear it. Hey, this guy said that you guys are running, a dishonest business or whatever. And it's like, hey, I pull them aside. Hey, we heard this. Like, what's going on? Like, can you tell me about what happened? And I'll walk it through. If you had a bad day and you slipped up and you said some stuff you didn't mean to, that's fine. But let's not move that into infiltrating the rest of our
you don't want that to
hardworking
grow.
employees. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a cancer from the inside.
Yeah, you service it, and if it doesn't work, then you cut the cancer out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me about the worst employee that you've ever had,
Okay.
if you can. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, some of the ones that I haven't hired, I think. There was a gentleman that we're looking to bring on, and 3 weeks later I saw him on, it wasn't the news, it was, there was a picture of him somewhere that said, do not let this person into your store.
Oh,
And I was like,
all right, dodged a bullet there.
we did? That's kind of spooky to
Yeah.
me that, they have their picture up at a store of theirs saying, do not let them back in.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's like the one person that's banned from that bar. It's like, what did you have to do to get banned from here?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I guess, since we've really started to, they always say hire slow and fire fast. So since we've taken that into very serious consideration, we've hit a lot of home runs. A lot of people have come to us because their friends used to work there. And they say, hey, I love it here. Or, a lot of word of mouth is happening. We're working with another company that right when they get out of high school, they're interested in the trades. So we're kind of working with them a little one-on-one-ish to figure out, hey, like, they've only been painting for 3 weeks, but they really like it. It's like, we're going to bust them up. Like, we're going to get them down and dirty, and we'll see if they cut it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just because, with the way it seems the workforce is going, a lot of people don't want to work and get paid. So
Turns out it's better in my mind since I feel like pre-pandemic, maybe, I don't know, 2018, mid-2019, it was tough to find people. Pandemic made it like, oh, you thought 2019 was bad? Watch this.
yeah,
And
hold my
then
beer.
I feel like it's coming back to not easy, but I am judging it purely on the number of people, percentage-wise, that show up to an interview. And pandemic, if we had 50%, we were like, whoa, yeah, we got it.
On
figured
time?
out. Yeah. And now the past 4 interviews, 100%.
Okay.
So we're 2019, 50, sometimes I'd have 3 people scheduled for an interview, and you would hope one showed up kind
Yeah.
of thing.
No, I hear you on that. It seems like also, in the trades for the most part, it seems like, people are kind of coming back out of the woodworks. We get a lot of calls seasonally as we go into the winter. A lot of paint companies will slow down.
Okay.
And so sometimes those workers that, I say sometimes we say trim the fat. So you get rid of some of that stuff. That way you're nice and lean going into winter.
Gotcha.
Some companies don't have as much work, so they kind of let those straggle. And so interviewing them is where you got to be your sharpest because they have the experience, they have the knowledge, but why aren't they there anymore?
Oh, gotcha. They cut the B team. Now B team's knocking on your door.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that when we put an ad or two out, we're getting, before it was kind of crickets, and now we're getting 4, 5, 6 hits per listing. So
And what are you using to list?
Craigslist.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
And
Out of
it's
all
working.
places.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the word of mouth stuff, I think I would say, our most tenured employee, our first foreman hire or promotion, I would say, came from Craigslist. I mean, some of our best guys came from Craigslist.
Wow.
I paid Indeed once, and
Woof.
yeah, I got the bill, and I was like, no one called. They're like, well, is it specific enough? Is it this? I was like, aren't I supposed to have an agent that
I
like,
love that. What are you doing wrong?
oh, it came right back to me. I spent it, and Bernie's like, hey man, that Indeed bill came back. He goes, how many did you hire off that, or who'd you talk to? I was like, I didn't think they even started yet because that was like how little communication I had with them, and so we realized there's certain avenues. Facebook does a good job.
Okay.
You can post something on the marketplace.
Okay. For employees or
yeah.
for jobs?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. That wouldn't be, I would say, our biggest traction would definitely be Craigslist.
That is awesome.
It's very interesting. But, any search engine where you can type in painting jobs, why not go to Craig?
It's interesting that you say that. Not necessarily hugely relevant, but I love Craigslist for all kinds of stuff, right? Motorcycles, cars, all that kind of stuff. Finding some dude to do a little electrical job or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do people go towards Facebook Marketplace when it's so difficult to find something? The algorithm sucks. I can't just type in.
Well, you get all the new stuff, and it's like, I didn't want the new stuff.
Yeah.
I'm on here because I don't want the new stuff.
It's garbage. It's garbage, man. I'll type in, let's say Buick Grand National, right? That's on everybody's mind since the halftime show.
Yeah.
Everybody that cares about the halftime show as far as Buick Grand National. That was the first thing I saw. I was like,
good way to put that.
That Grand National behind that guy. Like, get out of the way. We got to see the car.
Yeah.
So if I were to go on Marketplace and type in Buick Grand National, you would see Toyota Supra.
Or it's like Alaska. It's like, no, my radius is here.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if I go on Craigslist, it's like, here's the 3 that there are.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How about some honesty?
Thanks.
Don't just keep me scrolling until I buy.
Yeah, yep.
I totally hear you on that.
That's it. So I wish Craigslist was more popular then. Like it had its moment, and then I don't know.
Well, it kind of got, it got kind of put in the corner with some bad stuff. So
yeah, I suppose. But there's weird people everywhere, right?
I agree, but they were the first one.
Yeah, but it's not like people on Marketplace. You're like, oh, I won't get murdered here. The pictures are in color or something.
I've moved a lot in my younger years, and all of my furniture I left behind, and I got new stuff off Facebook Marketplace when I moved there.
Yeah, fair. I'm not saying it's not
I've been to some
usable.
places I don't want to say I was, but I didn't know where I was, right? It's a new city. They're like, oh, you were there? It's like, yeah. And they're like, any scratches, bumps, bruises? No, I'm out of there fine. You bought a glass table from, wherever,
Oh,
and you
interesting.
made it out okay. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know any better.
Huh.
If you're not from there, you don't know where the armpits of the town are.
No, right.
Yeah.
All good. All good. Let's shift gears into just business stuff as a whole.
Okay.
You started out 5 years ago, a little before,
Yeah.
or a little more than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What are some things that you've learned since then that you wish you knew when you first started?
I would say make sure that roles are defined
All right.
and on paper for what people are responsible for and what their job roles entail. Standards of procedures as far as, hey, like if we're going to go hire someone, I have a list of questions that I go by every single time. That way, when you want to come by our company in a couple of years because you see that we run on 14% efficiency, you can make some bank off of that.
Operating manual, yeah.
Exactly. So that way we have a binder full. Oh, we just hired a new foreman. Okay, print off pages 6, 7, 8, and 13. Okay, here you go. That way it'll be, I would say, and we're not looking to sell, but like one day down the road, hopefully, with how easy it is, any company, they say over $2 million is sellable business now. I can just say, hey, here you go. Here's everything. Mm-hmm. Check comes this way. We hand you everything else, and we're out.
Nice.
Turnkey.
Yeah. What is the plan, I guess? Let's call it 3-5 years down the road.
I want to retire tomorrow, like
I don't
everybody
know.
else.
Yeah, right.
No,
What would you do then, though, right?
Bernie and I both had our first kids in 24.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's been a roller coaster ride of a year. It's been really fun. Yeah, my baby was born in August and his was born in May.
All right.
And so they're not sleeping, managing people. We're growing, with our coach as well as with each other, as well as our business goes. One thing I wish I knew earlier is design a default calendar, meaning, I would say from Wednesday from noon to 6 is me catching up with the computer. I'll answer calls. But that's me. That's my time. To where, Mondays from 7 a.m. to 9:30 is start the jobs, get the process going, get that first, hey, is this going to be a real Monday or is it going to be an easy Monday? You can kind of start to sift that out in the first 2 hours of work. But a default calendar just kind of allows you to understand where you are in that week. Did Friday come really fast? That week went really well. What happened that week that worked well? Well, I went to the gym in the morning and I went to swim lessons in the afternoon instead. Or, that's, I would say it's minute, but business-wise, oh, hey, we had all the fleet trucks loaded Sunday night. Well, if I take 2 hours of my Sunday and it makes the first 8 hours of my week go better, why not start there? So it's little things like that, just little tweaks to it, but having a calendar Monday through Friday where you stick to what you say you're going to do when you do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
I love it.
One thing too is we did a time study where it showed, from 7 a.m. Till 5 p.m. on Friday, what you did every half an hour. You had to write it down. You did it for 2 weeks, and it just showed how much blah time there was. Today is a perfect example, unfortunately, where I was in Stoughton, Verona, Sun Prairie, and I'm going back to where Madison meets Verona later.
All right.
Why weren't those things butted together?
Ah.
Because you're too popular.
Sure.
It took too long to get on the
we got an
show.
audience, man.
Yeah, no.
This is marketing for you.
This is perfect. This is a perfect example of not being efficient.
Sure.
So, even on knowledge-wise, like you're asking, hey, what would I wish I knew earlier? Sometimes you just can't stick to that mold. Life's fluid, and so
There's anomalies.
you got to kind of, yes, exactly. I totally agree. But the more you can structure efficient days, whether that be in the office or out in the field, that is what has really changed us as a whole. And as we're moving into the business rather than in it, onto it instead of in it, excuse me, it's just showing more and more light.
Fair.
Reading books.
All right.
Yeah, our coach makes us read books a lot.
Makes
It's like I'm back in school.
You got homework. What's the book you're reading
I have
now?
homework every week.
All right.
We're reading How to Buy Back Your Time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's it's really cool. I've listened to it on audiobooks, but it's definitely more one of those that you have to take in stride, like as you go through the chapters. Okay, this is my plan, like write it down. He has a really good drip matrix in there about how to, there's $1 sign up to $4 signs, and then there's a red color and a green color.
Okay.
The red $1 signs, get rid of right away. Hire someone else to do it. It's wasting your time.
What does Reddit represent?
Red is bad. Green is good.
Got it.
Sorry, I should have started with that. But red, $1 sign is something you should just outsource right away. You don't like it, which is red, and it's a $1 sign. It's wasting your time and probably wasting your money. It kind of gets to the point where what you get paid an hour. If you aren't doing that plus some, you're actually losing the company money.
Yeah.
So the green $4 signs are what you should focus on. You can't always do that. But if they're going to be red, make sure it's the 3 or the 4. That way, at least you're making your ROIs, at least your time plus a little bit.
Gotcha.
It's fun.
Very cool.
Good book.
Is that the first book that you've been assigned?
No. Buying Customers 2.0.
Okay.
It's a good book. Goes into depth on how to essentially buy customers. If I were to tell you, hey, on your marketing campaign, for every $150, you got a new customer. Why don't we just spend a ton of money on this then?
Yeah. I'll make that trade all day long.
Exactly. So, I think that is, in theory, it's great. But, have you ever done piecemeal before? Like piece advertising? Like throwing it in mailboxes? Mm-mm. We tried it once.
Oh, like every door direct mail you're talking
Yeah,
about?
if we were to select this neighborhood,
Yes.
hey, put a piece of mail in all of it.
Yes.
We didn't get one call.
Okay.
And then we spend a little bit more money here and a little bit more time going to the chambers and being more involved in the community. Our numbers have absolutely pumped since I've just started introducing people to who we are and why we do it.
Yeah. Every door direct mail, we did a few campaigns, and one of them we got so little, we got nothing from. And I was like, I wonder if the mail person just threw those in the dumpster. Because we wouldn't know.
We sent out 813 pieces and get one call.
Yeah. So that I was like, nothing.
Yeah.
You almost want to put one out that's like free bag of money.
Yeah.
If you call this number just to see what happens.
What you need to do is send it with a quarter attached to it and have those little scratch offs on there.
Oh.
The people that sit at home all day will scratch that thing off. They don't know what it's for until
Right.
they read the fine print, but once they scratch it off.
All right.
I think some of the furniture stores do that. It's like, hey, they win this couch, and it's like, you get $4 off. Your second cup of coffee is free.
sold.
Yeah, let me go in there and get some coffee.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Tell me about your partnership, right, with your brother.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's challenging because 1, you're related, 2, your brothers, and 3, it's a business partnership. So universally, those can go one of 2 ways, basically.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge in working with your brother? He's not going to watch this, so it's cool, right?
No, he asked me this on.
He's like, pause it right now.
No, really good question. So since he started it, he was majority owner. He used some of his own money as capital to help buy some of the equipment, some of the other things like that. And so eventually when I moved back and we're like, hey, like this is going really well. This is taking off. He's getting out of it what he needs out of me and vice versa. Then we eventually went to 50-50 partners. So the company had to buy back that other portion of capital that he had put in, and then I'm slowly paying that off. I mean, it's paid off, but we had to pay him back what he's owed.
Gotcha.
from-
So you invested in the business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, time, commitment is more important than the money. You know, everyone says it takes money to make money, which is true, but you got to have something to start.
Time, money, and effort, right? That's those three commodities that,
Yeah.
You can always make more effort. You can always make more money. Time, finite resource.
I would say for those 50-50 partners or 49-50 ones or anything that's really close like that, having someone that's your mediator, or like even if we hired you for once a month, hey, we're going to hire you to come on over to our office. We're going to just lay it all on the table. I don't like the way you did that. Well, you didn't call them back. Well, all that stuff can just get ironed out.
Sure.
We have had such small amounts of that because of not only of Monica, but then once our organizational chart split out, we stopped tangling each other's stuff. Well, you responded to the first email. Well, you didn't call them. It's like, why isn't that just one?
All right.
So
neutral third party.
Neutral third party.
And everybody's got their lanes.
Stay in your lane. What do you like doing? I like going out and networking, meeting more people, becoming more a part of the community. Bernie likes numbers and the hows and the whys as to what we can do more efficiently, or why our overhead's too much right now. Or, he likes that tinkering in the back end, so we balance each other out pretty well.
Nice.
I like to go chase it down. I bring it to him. We figure out what's worth it.
Yeah.
I go back out and say we'd like to continue partnering, or hey, this is what we see. How do you feel about that? And it's been really good so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you find your coach?
Through Eric Fritz. He owns the Kiva Sports Center.
Okay,
over
I
in
know the
Middleton.
name, but
Yeah, so we were downtown. We're family friends. He came to my wedding and stuff like that. We've known each other for a really long time. I worked for him at Kiva, Raffin Games, when we were younger, and I worked for Eric's father as well for a summer. And we were downtown for a Badger football tailgate, and he's like, I was kind of explaining some of the stuff, and he's like, you should call Action Coach. And so he just kind of went through some of the growing pains of running your own show overhead, and he's like, I had so many different things going on in my life that I just didn't know how to run a business. And so he's been with them over 18 years now.
wow. That's a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they come with a price, but I couldn't recommend it more.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting how people, business owners, and I myself am guilty of this as well. When I first started business in 2006, I thought I knew it all because I took classes on all these things from Small Business Development Center.
Yeah.
And I was learning, just absorbing information, reading books and all this jazz. But I took for granted the things that I didn't even know existed. So I didn't know what I didn't know. Mm-hmm. So the whole employee thing threw me off my game.
What about it?
I thought you could hire an employee just by chatting with someone, hire them, pay them, and they do their job, show up, and rinse, repeat.
Okay.
The first time I had an employee not show up and didn't call, I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's like you lost your car keys. You're like, where'd that person go?
Yeah, it was one of those
Where'd they go?
Like I'm having a Google search, is employees not showing up a thing or something? I don't know. It wasn't quite that bad. But I thought maybe the kid is dead, right? You don't know.
Well, yeah.
You get hit by a bus, whatever.
Hope not.
And I just learned, no, just didn't wake up that day. Whatever. It turned out I learned a very long story about this particular employee, but then over the years, that's the thing. Mm-hmm. Or employee the time theft thing, or just insert employee issue here. Mm-hmm. Had no idea. Because from my point of view, everyone has a good work ethic. And I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. I wish it was true.
I get called a millennial, and I'm like, but I was on the good end. I was on the good end.
I don't have a participation award to speak of.
Yeah, I can't help you with that.
Yeah, so that was one. Another example is Net 30. I didn't know what Net 30 was.
On payments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my business plan, the cash flow, I do the job, I get paid, right? And churn as you grow kind of thing. So I remember fixing my first machine, and the lady's like, you can send the invoice here. And I was like, send the invoice? Wait, that means that I have to create an invoice. That means that I'm not getting paid today. That means that I have to wait until you send me a check, and then I have to deposit that check.
And it has to clear the bank.
Oh my God. And all this stuff that I was like, oh, in my head, I did the job, I got paid. Just like, oh, how much is that, right? Here's the money kind of thing.
You're not ordering Culvers.
No,
You gotta,
no.
yeah.
So it's in my head now looking back, I'm like, you're a moron.
It's embarrassing, some of the stuff that you look back on, you're like, we thought that was going to work.
No. So it's interesting because I used to teach business planning classes pre-pandemic. And I would tell people, like, what is up here, you got to put that on paper because up here it makes sense. This will totally work. But when you get on paper and you start doing the numbers and figure out how many hours there are actually in a day for you to do all these things, you're like, oh, yeah, no.
You get more hours in a day, you let me know.
Yeah, no. I have many stories from that stuff. So I guess my whole point in saying all this is I understand having someone to help guide you and kind of say, hey, have you thought about this? Or this is a thing to be aware of. Or
Yeah, I think that's like I said, when we plateaued, it was hire more guys, have more work, revenue. Just
sell more.
You sold more. You have more guys. Why aren't we making more? Why aren't we growing more? And it just, our efficiency's never been bad as far as our operating profit, but it's knowing those things too on how to look at a P&L, how to look at a balance statement, and actually, oh, it's green. Okay, it's great. Why is it green? And why is it twice as much in this column versus that? That kind of the nuts and bolts. Was for school I learned a lot about that, but she kind of looked at, she always pulls them up, every month we look at them and say, oh, why is that this month? Oh, we have an answer for it. Or hey, that's not categorized as that because in taxes we'll hit it differently. There's just so many different little loopholes that that she knows about, and I guess not knows about, but just helps us stay as organized as possible, because the second you're unorganized, I don't know what else you have.
It's a tough hole to get out of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the second you don't have anything in a folder or a file, or even you said written down. I always write everything down because I'll remember it, and then I'm like, oh, I have this to do, and then that just whatever just happened goes away. So writing things down, I do believe, is important.
That is cool. Yeah, and it keeps you accountable. Because it's interesting that she's challenging you on the stuff. Like, hey, this is the P&L from last month. This is this month. Tell me about this. And you can't be just like, don't look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not important. Move along.
No, just don't worry about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it opens, even as 50-50 owners, he does a lot of the books. So, I get to get caught up.
Oh, nice.
I don't look at it that much. Truthfully, I don't. I mean, I have a lot other things that I'm focusing on, Sometimes, when he's done with work at 3-4 o'clock, I have a networking event that starts at 5:30 and goes to 8. So that's kind of where our checks and balances work. So technically, one of us is almost always working, which is great. That's why, that's why you have your own business.
Yeah.
Work around the clock, right?
Yeah, I get it. You punch in once and punch out when you
punch
sell
out. Yeah.
Stephen, where can people find you?
Well, our website, langspainting.com. The domain is ours. It's a great spot to start. We have a start your own inquiry or start your own job on there. So that's where you fill out your information. This is more the residential side, but yeah, langspainting.com is a great place to start. Bernie's number is listed on their direct line. We don't have anything answering the phone for us. We go straight to it.
Right on. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You bet.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you are listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends, especially those that may be interested in the painting business, or they need to know what's going on in the back end of the painting business that they hired to take care of their walls and houses and apartments and stuff like that. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Stephen Lange of Lange's Painting. Stephen, can you tell us that website one more time?
Yeah, langspainting.com.
Doesn't get easier than that. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.